So hi everyone, I guess we can start our session. Looks like we have all the speakers from our session in, and the first talk is by Dr. Sesha Reddy Manchala in collaboration with Rajasekhar and Hassam Abdel Magaid. I hope I didn't destroy the names. The name of the talk is Evaluation of Von Mises Stress in D2 Bone Implant Interface in Platform Switched Short Dental Implants using 3D Finite Element Model. So we're looking forward for your talk, Dr. Sesha Reddy. You can
Thank you,
start.
Doctor. To start with, I am a lecturer in Department of Periodontics, College of Dentistry, Gulf Medical University. And as rightly said, I will be talking about evaluation of von Mises stresses in D2 bone implant interface in platforms with short dental implants using finite element model. And these are my content. I'll be talking about introduction, goal, material methods, results, discussion, and conclusion. To start with, replacement of dental implants has become an integral part of day-to-day dental treatment, and dental implants are widely acceptable treatment modality to replace missing tooth. And several decades later, major advancements continues to revolutionize the field of dental implants. And these new technologies, with the help of these new technologies, tooth replacement has been improved, and today it is possible to replace multiple teeth in a single day. And the remarkable innovations which are applicable to implant dentistry, as we got computer-aided dental implant placements, we got CBCTs, we got CAD/CAM, and we got 3D printing, all assist in implant success and survival, and also to replace missing tooth within a short duration of time frame. Coming to the success rate, in the first year it is reported 97% to 100% of success rate, and at 3 years it is reported to be 97%. However, there is a lot amount of success. There is short amount of failures also, and these failures caught the attention of researchers to look into what are the reasons why there is a failure of dental implants. Even so much of improvement has been achieved in implantology, in terms of techniques as well as in terms of uh, uh, improvement in terms of implant dentistry. So the main reasons implant failures can be broadly categorized into early failures or late failures, or it can be because of surgical failures or biomechanical failures. Of all these, biomechanical failures are mainly associated with peri-implant bone loss and stress distribution around implants leading to crustal bone loss. However, prediction of these biomechanical failures before they occur is challenging in humans and animal models because of ethical issues and regional stringent ethical and legal issues. And biomechanical failures lead to stress distribution around the crustal bone and leading to crustal bone loss. Hence, the predetermination of these stresses, even before they occur, can be best evaluated using a finite element method or model. And crustal bone loss of 1.5 mm in the first year and 0.2 mm in the subsequent years is considered as acceptable for two-piece dental implants. However, this crustal bone is very much crucial for the maintenance and preservation of gingival margin, interdental papilla, and evaluation of the success of the implant-supported prosthetic rehabilitation. And it is possible to find in literature several attempts have been made to preserve even this marginal bone level around implants. As a result of it, we got new implant designs, new surfaces, different types of loading approaches have been tried to mitigate bone resorption events. All of which have been considered normal, provided that some boundary conditions are defined and are acceptable by scientific community. In this aspect, we have got platform switch dental implants and short dental implants, which try to mitigate crustal bone loss at the implant when the implant is placed into the bone. And this platform switch dental implant is mainly based on the concepts of understanding the biological process and biomechanics proposed to be associated with implant abutment mismatch, continue to grow in clinical acceptance. And short dental implants, anything that is less than 10 mm is considered as short dental implants. Their main advantage is to reduce surgical risk and also unwanted bone grafting procedures. And when the bone height is very minimal, we can use these short dental implants. Coming to the concept of platform switch dental implants, in platform switch concept refers to using a smaller diameter implant. This is a smaller diameter abutment and on a larger diameter implant collar, as a result of which it alters the implant abutment junction away from the margins of the implant. As a result of which, by using this or by altering the implant abutment junction, it shifts the inflammatory infiltrate zone, as a result of which it will be present within this, and the bone loss which is going to happen at this level will be prevented. to examine the validity and accuracy of dental implants concerning stress, failure rate, risk factors, biomechanics. Next is geometry. Various numerical techniques have been developed and used. However, only few studies evaluated stress in platform 6 short dental implants in mandibular bone with subcrustal implant placement using FEM model. Hence, the present study is designed to evaluate one measure stresses in D2 bone when short platform 6 dental implants were placed at various bone depths with different forces and angles or angulation of force using 3D FEM method. So the objective of the study was to evaluate one measure stresses in D2 cortical bone and cancellous bone, to compare stress distribution in D2 bone regarding angulation of force applied, to evaluate peri-implant bone stress distribution in platform 6 short dental implants placed at various depths in D2 bone, and to evaluate stress in D2 bone according to the implant length and diameter. Coming to what is FEM method, finite element method is a numerical analysis used to perform finite element analysis of any given physical phenomena. As a result of it, the complex structure is divided into many small elements, and each element is being joined at the nodes. Each two elements are joined at the nodes, and for each element, the mechanical behavior can be written as a function of displacement of these nodes. And these nodes, when subjected to certain loading conditions, result in a behavior of the model similar to the structure it represents. Here it represents bone, implant, and abutments. And when a computer analysis is performed on this system, a simultaneous simulation equations can be solved to relate all the forces and displacement of the nodes. From this, stress can be established in each element and the whole structure can be evaluated. Then assumptions are made, data has been interpolated, and it is quantified in terms of solution values at specific elements location called nodes. Through this discussion process, the method sets up an algebraical system of equations of unknown nodal values which approximate the continuous solution. And because each element size, shape, and approximating schemes can be varied to suit the problem, the method can accurately simulate solutions to problems of complex geometry and load. Thus, this technique has become a valuable, very useful, practical, non-invasive tool to evaluate stresses in the bone implant interface. And the evaluation of stresses can be done with the help of this color grading, where different colors indicate different amount of stresses, and least is represented as blue and highest is represented as red. Coming to the background of FEM, FEM was being used in civil engineering structure, especially in the field of engineering. To name few, we got civil engineering, aeronautical engineering, and in the medical field also biomedical engineering, especially joint replacement surgeries, and in dentistry, especially with regarding to dental implants to evaluate stress and strain. Coming to the material methods, a section of posterior mandibular block, that is what we are comprising a D2 bone, is been represented consisting of a cortical and a cancellous bone. Outer layer is made up of cortical layer, which is of 1.5 thickness, and the entire inner core is made up of cancellous bone. And then the implant of the following dimensions have been made. One is 4.6 diameter and one is 5.8 diameter with 6 mm and 7.5 mm lengths. And all the elements are being subjected to ANSYS workbench software 14.5, and one measure stresses will be obtained, and the values thus obtained will be tabulated and graphically represented. And once the model is being formulated using ANSYS workbench software, then forces of 100 and 200 newtons will be applied onto the implant at various angles, that is at in axial direction at 0 degrees and oblique direction at 15 degrees and 30 degrees. And the implants will be placed at equicrustally and subcrustally at 0.5 mm, 1 mm, 1.5 mm, and 2 mm subcrustally. And the same one mesh stresses will be evaluated. And coming to the mesh generation, the mesh is being generated with the help of 10 noded tetrahedron element with 3 degrees of freedom per node, and that were being used to interpret translation in x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. And here are the nodes and elements that are being used for this particular study. For cortical bone, we got 10,249 elements and 16,404,995 elements. Like this, the same cortical bone has also got so many number of elements, and the implant and abutments have got number of nodes and number of elements and nodes. And the materials of these models are considered to be isotropic, homogeneous, and linear elastic. And the material properties are being described in this, which have been applied to as for Young's modulus and Poisson's ratio for this particular design. And the set boundary conditions for the modeling of the mandibular posterior regions are included in these SEM studies, and application of force was restricted within the boundary conditions. And FEM once assumed to be optimal osseointegrated, then the load was being applied onto these structures. Coming to the results, evaluation of one measure stresses is done in cortical and cancellous bone for equicrustal and subcrustally placed dental platforms with short dental implants. under a masticatory force of 100 and 200 newtons when the force was applied in oblique as well as axial direction. And these results have been interpreted in table 2, 3 and in graph 1 and 2. Coming to the table 2, this table represents the amount of von Mises stresses in cortical bone when the implants of following dimensions are being placed. Two dimensions are there with 4.6 mm with 4.6 mm diameter with 6 mm length implant and with 7.5 mm length implant. So if you look here, when force of 100 newtons was applied in axial at 0 degrees, the maximum amount of stress was seen at subcrustally at 0.5 mm and least amount was seen at equicrustal. When the force was 100 newtons was applied at an angulation of 30 degrees, highest amount of stress was seen with 30.34 MPa megapascal, which is seen at subcrustally at 0.5 mm and least at equicrustal position. And when you see when force greater the force and greater the degree of angulation and greater was the stress being distributed at 0.5 mm subcrustally, and in this the least was at equicrustal position. When the diameter of the implant has been increased from 4.6 to 5.8, least amount of stress was been seen at equicrustal position with force of 100 newtons and 0 degrees angle, that is axial load, and highest was seen at 1 mm subcrustal. Again, in the same variation, when force of 200 newtons at 30 degrees angulation was been applied, maximum force was being seen. However, if you look here, the amount of stress compared to the cortical region is different from that of the 4.6 diameter implant to 5.8 diameter implant. Coming to the cancellous bone, least amount of stress was being seen at 2 mm subcrustally, and maximum was seen at equicrustal position when force of 100 newtons was being applied at an angle of 30 degrees. However, when the force of 200 newtons was applied, it was almost 19.98 MPa and minimum was 4.63 MPa. And when the diameter of the implant increased, the least was 1.25 MPa and maximum was 2.007 MPa at 0.5 mm subcrustal. And greater the force, greater was the angle of force, greater was the stress distribution. However, it was comparatively diameter of the implant when it is increased from 4.6 to 5.8, the amount of stresses were comparatively reduced compared to that of the 4.6 diameter implant. Coming to this is the graphic representation of von Mises stresses in D2 cortical bone. If you look here, the green bar represents von Mises stresses when force of 200 newtons was applied at 30 degrees angulation, suggesting that greater the force, greater was the greater the angle, greater was the amount of stress distribution. And when the diameter of the implant increased from 4.6 to 5.8, you can notice that here the highest amount of stresses were at 60 MPa. It was almost half the amount of that is almost close to 30 MPa. Coming to the von Mises stresses in cancellous bone, if you look here, again same thing. Greater the amount of stress was for D2 with 200 newtons force when the angulation of force was at 30 degrees, and only one position had highest amount of stress, that is 20 MPa. And when the diameter of the implant increased from 4.6 to 5.8 mm, the amount of MPa is almost highest peak was at 6 MPa. Rest all were comparatively less compared to that of the 4.6 diameter implant. And this is how the maximum von Mises stresses have been seen. The graph gives us the amount of stresses with 100 newtons force at 0 degrees angulation, 0.5 mm showed highest amount of stress, and equicrustal showed least amount of stresses in cortical bone. And this is again at an angulation when the force of 100 newtons was given at an angle of 30 degrees oblique direction, and equicrustal 0.5 mm exhibited maximum amount of stress and equicrustal exhibited minimum amount of stress. And this is in the cancellous bone, where you can see least amount of maximum amount of stress is exhibited at 0.5 mm and least was been exhibited 1 mm subcrustally when force of 100 newtons was been applied at 0 degrees angulation. Coming to the discussion, the present study found that peak stresses was higher in cortical bone and lowest in the cancellous bone, which was consistent with the previous research. And in this analysis, force of 100 newtons and 200 newtons were being used, with the light clenching being correlating with 100 newtons force and mild clenching with 200 newtons force. And maximum von Mises stresses was observed in D2 bone when force of 200 newtons was being applied, regardless of implant design, that is whether the implant length and diameter. Both forms of bone showed higher stress values when subjected to oblique loading forces than subjected to axial forces. And cortical bone stresses was most noticeable as the direction of force was applied at an oblique direction of 30 degrees. And platforms is short dental implants with the 4.6 diameter and with length of 6 and 7.2 mm exhibited maximum stress in cortical bone when placed at 0.5 mm, whereas with 5.8 and 6 mm and 7.5 mm exhibited minimum stresses in cancellous bone at almost at 2 mm. And subcrustal implants, on the other hand, has a different biomechanical behavior because they alter the implant abutment junction and also the crown root ratio, as a result of which biomechanical forces are comparatively less. And numerical data reveal that implant diameter is more important than the length of the implant. And this implant diameter, when it is larger, it leads to better functional area, functional surface area, higher fracture tolerance, higher initial stability, and well bone tension. And nevertheless, mathematical results from the current study suggest that implant diameter is more effective than the length of the implant to overcome bone loading and improve implant biomechanical stress-based potency. And previous studies have suggested that short dental implants be used to minimize implant outlays and morbidity. To conclude with, cancellous bone and compared to the cancellous bone, cortical bone displayed more stresses. And when it comes to stress delivery, diameter of the implant is more important than the length of the implant. Irrespective of the implant dimensions, position of the forces, that is 200 newtons of forces, was greater than with 100 newtons force. And in terms of implant depth position, FEM model revealed that subcrustal placement results in greater tension distribution than equicrustal positions. And oblique force of 300, when the force was applied at 30 degrees, that is oblique forces were more deleterious than vertical forces. Coming to the clinical significance, so the reduction and elimination of excessive stresses on the implant bone surface is achieved by following well-planned, well-designed surgical process. And FEM has been used to predict the location and extent of these stress-bearing areas at the bone implant interface in vivo before they occur. And the findings of this research can be used to forecast clinical success rate. And where there is a lack of bone mass, short and larger diameter implants can be considered. And FEM tests, on the other hand, are required to link FEM studies to clinical scenarios. Coming to the limitation of the study, even though we considered in this case that bone to implant ratio is 100% osseointegration, it may not be the clinical scenario in real life situation. While all the materials are considered to be isotropic and homogeneous, individual differences do occur. And force applied here in this case is almost like static at one point at a single time. But in natural dentition, the force will vary based on individual tooth position, tooth size, shape, and all those things. And micro movements may not be applicable as realistic as possible. So these are my references. And I'd like to thank my professor, Dr. Rajshekhar and Dr. Hussam for supporting this particular research project. Thank you. Thank you for your hearing.